I would like to begin the episode by thanking some people. People like Tara Parker, Stephen, Alexander Gusanov, David Marsh, and Kevin Fitzgerald. All of these are people who have gone to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and helped us out. You can be like them and go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Kick us a couple of bucks a month and you get cool stuff in return, exclusive content and the like. Thank you so much to everybody who has done that and everybody who is considering doing that. Now here's the episode.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we're talking about Singularity, which is a first-person shooter developed by Raven Software and published by Activision for the PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3 in 2010.
Yeah. This is an executive-produced episode by Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Mm-hmm. I'd never heard of this game, just because, you know, a lot of like killing zones come out.
Yeah, it was a weird time for games where a lot of them looked kind of exactly the same. And I thought that I knew what this was, but turns out the game I was thinking of was called Time Shift.
This is a time game, kind of before the current renaissance of time games.
Yeah, and also part of our weird unintentional theme quarter of time games.
Time is everywhere, man.
Yeah,
this is quarter year Oberdin.
Yeah,
you know, like we're doing a lot of like going back and forth in time.
We are.
It's something that fiction likes to do.
It does.
But the cool thing is, this rules.
Yeah.
For having a thing that was a total surprise and that you thought wouldn't be a surprise, but you were thinking of Time Shift. It always feels really good when somebody brings, like, I was getting it, like, it's not quite, I don't like it quite as much, but it reminded me of like Monster Train.
Yeah.
Like a game where it's like, I had not played that. And then it got sponsored and I was like, well, let's give it a shot. Let's do something neither of us have played. And then it turns out to fucking rock.
Yeah.
This rocks.
This rocks, and there are some qualifications to that rocking. You want right-sized expectations when you go in, but like, I don't know, this goes down super smooth, and I think that they make a lot of really good decisions for what they decide to include in this. It is just a real just snack of a game, just a real treat of a game.
Fun snack, tasty treat.
Yeah.
And the things that they do that are not as good, a lot of them were the style at the time, and are very understandable. So it's like the thing I was thinking about this, like I think the thing that stops us from being an absolute stone cold classic are generally like shooter genre inertia.
Yeah.
Things, and then development woes, which we'll talk about.
Yes. Yeah. This had a famously troubled development from kind of a famously troubled studio that still managed to make amazing things.
Yeah. It was canceled officially for one whole day. It's like when people die on the operating table.
Yep.
Did I die and go to heaven? Yeah. Funny story, but we managed to get you back. It's like that. Like it's kind of great that we even got this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I never hear anyone talk about it. Apparently one of the Giant Bomb guys talks about it.
Gotcha.
But I have never gone deep on those guys.
Yeah.
In this, you play as an American spec ops soldier named Nathan Renko, exploring the ruins of an island called Katorga 12.
Yes. Katorga 12, it's off the coast of Russia. It was the site of a secret Soviet research facility where they were looking into this element that they found called E99 that enables time manipulation. Seems to just kind of affect things around it in strange ways that could possibly be manipulated possibly with some time device.
Sure. Like some kind of special time glove that's on the cover of the game.
Yeah.
A lot of this is just an FPS corridor shooter of the kind that were in the style at 2010. And I think that people's appetite for this will depend on generally like how warm they are to those. And then for me, it was just how long it's been since we've done one.
Yeah, the thing that brought me kind of like the closest to this made me feel like playing Titanfall 2 a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I think that I ultimately like Titanfall 2 a little bit more. It's a little bit tighter, you know, any number of things. They had more, you know, history to, you know, it came out later, so they had more time to figure stuff out. But it's like that. And it just been a little while since we had done, I don't know, was the last like corridor shooter we did Doom 3, possibly? Like a whole year
Doom
ago?
3.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and even that plays a little bit different than this. Like this kind of, you know, meat and potatoes gaming experience was something I was just kind of jonesing for.
Yeah.
There are a lot of kind of irritating little bits about this. One of which I think is a shitty holdover is that you can only hold 2 weapons.
Yeah.
Fuck you very much, Halo. For codifying that into the genre, because that's a really unfun decision.
Yeah. I'm picking up ammo for everything. I don't want to have to like, you know, let me choose. Let me decide what weapon's going to be useful, not like just put like, okay, you're coming up on a bunch of waist high walls. Here's your here's your shotgun. You know, pick up the shotgun because you come up on a shotgun kind of area. Yeah, I want to play around. I want to experiment more than this system allows for.
I love that they that everyone kind of shrugged that off. Like Halo did, and everyone's like, "Oh, Halo's successful, so we have to do that." And it was never a good idea, and it just took a long time. Like the industry, you know, moves like a tanker ship.
Yeah.
But eventually turned to be like, actually, that kind of blows. And this similar to, I would say this splits the difference a little bit more successfully than BioShock Infinite, but similarly, by giving you stations to switch them out like very frequently. Like you don't lose a weapon.
No.
Like if you drop a weapon, it just ends up back in the station. It ends up feeling very superfluous and discouraged experimentation.
Yeah.
That is a bummer. There are a couple of other weird like shooter, you know, bad tropes. One of the good tropes is this is part of the long and illustrious first person shooter where you have superpowers. You know, you get these time manipulations from Super Glove, and these are great. There's a wide variety of them, and they're fun.
There was going to be more, you know, and this was criticized at the time for being a little bit underwhelming. I can see that, but also the ways that it is used, you know, it's neat. It you know, it integrates well. You've got the ones for exploration, you've got the ones for combat, and it does make you feel like a badass when you're walking around, you know, grabbing things out of the air and throwing them, and you know, aging somebody into a dusty skeleton. You know,
yes. all of the things you can do are fun.
Yes.
Like they're all cool.
Yeah.
You know, even like there are things like the gravity gun, which is like not super well done, but I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the deadlock in this, which I think is one, you know, feels fairly unique. As a mechanic, as a superpower. 2 is overpowered, but in a way that's very fun.
Yeah.
Like once you kind of realize this unlocks the game, I think this game is actually pretty easy.
Yeah.
You know, once you get that, but it's just so fucking satisfying. You throw this sphere of slowed down time, and enemies will be like statues as you walk around freely inside it. So you can, you know, a bunch of guys are clustered together, throw this down, and then slowly walk and just like casually execute them gangland style, you know, in the back of the head, and then you make time start and they all fall at once. It reminded me of Dishonored's time stop a little bit, but it's way cheaper and, you know, easier to use.
Yeah.
You know, it's they want you to do this, and it breaks the game in a really delightful way. I love things like that.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, you can also use it defensively too. I like putting it up at choke points and like using it as like mobile cover, because bullets that pass through it slow down. Yeah.
It ends up being, it's better than just being cover. Like if they just put up a shield, sure, but it slows bullets down, so you get to dodge them.
Yes.
So it never shows this, but you have to imagine from the people outside's perspective, this has to look like the coolest fucking thing that's ever been done.
Yep.
You know, really, really cool.
Yeah.
I really like this effect.
Yeah, it ends up being a little bit more restricted in like navigation kind of places. There are a lot of puzzles where it's like, okay, here's a crate that's collapsed with age, pick it up while it's flat and put it under a shutter door
Use it
that's
as a jack.
partway open. Yeah, use it as a jack to open it up. They play that card a few too many times. You also use the deadlock for navigation, but it's solely to stop fans, to stop fan blades from spinning.
And one door.
Yep.
One door late in the game. It's not really like the puzzle stuff. The most complicated the puzzles get in this is using the same object twice.
Yes.
Like using a jack and then realizing you have to take it with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to use as a leg up. Yeah.
That's not super exciting. Not a great puzzle game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this
it's kind of thrown in. It's a little bit of variety. I found that it was at least not deleterious to the pacing. Right.
Well, I mean, the pacing is just like absolutely, it's a greased up boy on a slip and slide.
Yep.
So they say,
as they always say, as they've said since time immemorial,
a backyard railgun.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, and all of this kind of works alongside. I forgot to make a note of this, but you find weapon upgrade kind of things for some real kind of basic weapon customization and stuff. And you also find just basically E99 pods that you can use to give yourself a bunch of different like perks and things like that.
At like a absolutely terrifying hero upgrade station.
Yep.
That opens up and you step into it. I have no idea what's happening in there.
Nope.
Like, what does it do to me to like pick up twice as much ammo every once in a while?
How exactly are you making it so I can bandage myself faster?
Yeah,
Please,
just like,
sir.
what does this machine do?
Yeah.
And that's one of those things too, again, where it's having those be in stations and save points is a shooter trope of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like this should have just been a menu that you opened up wherever you want.
Yeah.
To spend your stuff. This game doesn't really have like a save room rhythm. It does in the beginning of the game and then it loses it.
Yeah. No.
And including the first one you run into, you get ambushed like during it. There's like a timer.
Yeah.
On the first time you run into one of these.
Time does not stop. Yeah.
Yeah. It really should have just been a menu thing. But again, it was the style at the time. You know, I don't know why they did that. So we mentioned the gravity gun. We mentioned the lock. The weapons are also a standout here. It's sci-fi alternate universe. I'm going to say that this version of the Seeker, the bullet you can steer, is the best version of this idea in a game that I played.
It is wildly well implemented, and I am shocked that I've not seen it done elsewhere, actually.
It's because it's incredibly overpowered.
Yep.
Like it's like this game does not care about, making you feel privation with this stuff. And I think that's one of its big strengths. Like, the Nikita missile launcher, fun in Metal Gear. That's a fun, cool idea when it came out. But it's not super powerful. It's real fiddly. I would hazard that most people's Nikita missile launcher memories are being really frustrated, accidentally blowing up.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to steer it, like around corners and stuff, is when it would just like hit something and blow up and alert people. Then you have to run back to the safe spot because you're also dealing with an oxygen meter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying. Here, it is strictly a power up. Like they use these instead of turret sections. This isn't a weapon you can take with you. It's something you find for set pieces.
Yeah,
and you hide around corners and just shoot a bullet, and it slows down. Like you get quite literally bullet time as your little first person camera rides the bullet. It's like how I like to imagine it. And it is like it's very hard to miss. The bullets explode. Why? I don't know.
No, they're charged with
like
E99. It's the magic.
Yeah.
It's the magic rocks.
Well, I just mean it would be not why narratively, but why it's steering a bullet is already pretty cool.
It is, yeah.
But it explodes. Like why not? It's super easy to use these things. It's really fun. Like you get the sense the game does never similar to the Deadlock. The game never gives you the perspective of your character versus the enemies, but you are an absolutely terrifying superhero.
Oh yeah.
In this game. Like this is some of the most empowered I've felt through my avatar in a video game in a very long time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like these are turret sections where you can choose to be entirely invulnerable as long as as long as you are keeping an eye on people who might be advancing on your position. You can just go hide behind a wall and then just shoot this and then steer it around a corner and hit people like you want. You would like, we're making it sound so easy that it's boring. Every single time I got one of these, I was like, fuck yes.
It's really fun. It's very empowering.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it reminds me, this game also has a like unlimited gravity gun use. You know, scene like at the end of Half-Life 2. It's not as successful, I don't think. But these are kind of micro doses of that.
Yes.
You know, as opposed to saving your victory lap for the end of the game, like doling it out in little bits. And the game's like, you know, by no means is this part supposed to be hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, we're not going for that. There's not really a lot of challenge right here. You can even, while you're controlling the bullet, there's no trade-off. So if you get the prompt that's like press R, like I had it bound to R, to grab a projectile out of the air, you can do that while you're controlling the bullet. Nothing happens. Like you lose that bullet, but you get to not get hit by a grenade. You know, it's not about making this canny tactical decision intention, these specific moments. It's just about feeling like a badass.
Yeah. No.
And does a great job at it.
Would I want every game to do this all the time? No, that'd be pretty shallow. Be ultimately unsatisfying after a time. In doses though, and especially in a game like this, it is really, really nice. Again, a treat. This is dessert. You know.
I would replace Nikita sections with something like this.
Oh yeah.
Like I always thought that was cool. Like, oh, cool, you can steer the bullet. Oh, but steering the bullet sucks. Shit. Like that is my experience with Nikita missiles. Like I don't think those sections are very fun or interesting mechanically. Yeah. Just because they're harder.
Right.
You know, they're just frustrating. This is not frustrating.
Yeah. It's pretty good. You're going to be blowing up human soldiers with this. You got a couple of different varieties of those, either in the past or in the present. Some of them more highly armored or whatever, but also like this is kind of a low-key horror game as well,
especially the beginning.
Yeah.
Then there's one jump scare they add in the last third of the game that got me really good because they hadn't done anything like that for a very long time. Like I screamed.
Oh God, I want to hear where that was. Yeah.
I just like just me alone in my apartment with headphones going just to nobody in particular. But the beginning of it is very horror, and the way that they do that is through the monsters that you fight, the E99 mutations.
Yes.
All of these, I think, are good wireframe. The designs could be better.
Yeah, kind of like
100%.
Lumpy boys, gangly lumpy boys.
My favorite lumpy boys are when it's two lumpy boys, like it's the two-faced lumpy boy.
Yeah,
Lumpy the two-faced boy. I like Lumpy the two-faced boy that shows up because that has scary implications.
It does.
But yeah, it's the monsters are not any great shakes, I don't think.
Yeah. They just have, you know, it's different tactics to go up against, right? And it's also like, you know, in the present day section where it's all ruined and they've had time to mutate, you're generally fighting the monsters, and in the past time periods you're generally fighting people. It's neat the way that's kind of demarcated. Gives a good amount of variety to it. And you know, this is not a very difficult game. I played it on normal. I could have made it more difficult. I really was just kind of happy to be along for the ride on this.
There's a couple tough encounters on normal early on. Largely just before you get the deadlock and understand the deadlock. The deadlock breaks a lot of stuff once you get it.
Yes.
And upgrade it. But yeah, it's the difficulty is nice, and it gets easier as it goes on, which again is not intuitive. But for me, the feeling of being on a slide, I was glad the slide was getting faster. You know, as I got near the end, that felt good to me.
Yeah.
The visuals are fine. This is going to be the kind of thing that we're eventually going to get a nostalgia for.
Yes.
You know, because that's how nostalgia cycles work. A lot of the textures scream dark corners of the earth to me. In this, I kept thinking I was in Innsmouth during parts of this, in Boca. Lots of decayed industrial kind of buildings that you find. The cool thing that can happen is sometimes the like chronological anomalies here will make like the walls flake off.
Yeah.
And stuff. Like there are some cool effects that will happen, but boy, are you in Browntown.
Yep. Rollo Tony Browntown, indeed.
Sergeant Tony Browntown.
Sir. It's you know, just hope you like decaying industrial settings. Because that's where you're at for most of this. And you know what? Like I'm not gonna put this game on trial for that, because every game was guilty of this. by and large, including lots of games we really like. So,
and again, we're doing this in 2021, not 2010, where the industry is absolutely flooded with them. Like now, it's like kind of fun to go back to this every once in a while.
Yeah, when you're not living in it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you flip back and forth between 2010 when the game takes place and 1955 when the game takes place via time. And you get to see how the facility used to look like when it was nice and shiny. It all has 80s Soviet energy, though. So even when it was nice and shiny, it's still very like
austere,
functional.
Yeah.
Wild urinals in this place. Absolutely. The idea, there's a couple like really nice little bits of horror feeling to the environmental design, including like a really good touch early on that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
And then tons of audio logs.
Yes.
That are just telling you the last days of these poor people, who had the misfortune of working at Katorga 12.
Yes. Audio logs, and then also these kind of like flashbacks, like time echo kind of things.
Yes.
Where you see people, running for their lives or arguing with each other, etc. These were accounts differ on whether they did these before they played BioShock or not. Regardless, these ended up filling in story that would have been revealed through more extensive time. Through the more extensive mechanics. This was a cheap way for them to get the story across after they paired this back in development. And
which we'll talk about that pairing.
It's fine. Although the audio logs, it is the annoying kind of audio log where oftentimes the reel-to-reel machine is decayed, so you have to restore it. I don't know. I hate that. Because it's just literally just an extra button press, but you have to stay near them in order to keep on hearing it. No headphones on this bad boy.
Also, Titanfall 2 did that.
Yep.
Like, if you remember, you had to stand next to the laptop while it played, lore.wave. It's pretty obnoxious. There's also, this came out in a weird time where there are no subtitles.
God damn, I hate that so much.
Before those are industry standard. It's pretty annoying. Like, it's hard, that sucks. I had to blast this and change the sound balance to be like sound effects loud, music very low to hear everything, which made it an hourly unpleasant experience, which is fine because I think this has one of those anonymous soundtracks.
I literally thought like, is that like from the Born? Like, is that from the Born Identity soundtrack? What the fuck is that? Yeah,
I was thinking that if you had a note here that was like, this game is actually very weird, it has no music, I would have been like, oh. Yeah, I guess, it doesn't have music. Yeah. Like fucking Gumboing saying like, oh, Vienna is very scenic. There are no beaches. It feels like that to me. Like I could not remember one of these songs if the entire future depended on it. Not just mine.
And that's a little, that feels like a missed opportunity, especially if you're setting something in Russia. Like there's all kind, even if you want to be like cliche about it, there's cool sounds and palettes and keys you can work with that would really
in the 80s?
work with it. Yeah, shit, dude.
Man, I've been like way into this like Russian 80s synth pop.
Although it's not the 80s, it's the 50s.
Say what? Oh no, well yeah, that is. But I guess that's true.
Yeah.
You're right. It is the 50s. But anyway, just throwing some 80s synth pop.
Who cares?
No, I mean you could do. The reason I was thinking of 80s is because it's very clear that there's big Chernobyl energy to a lot of this writing. So that's where I got 80s build. Yeah. For this. But anyway, the music is horrible and anonymous. So the sound mixing and all of that stuff kind of blows.
Yeah.
The story is very basic. You're working with good scientist to stop bad scientist. The twist is that you saved bad scientist's life.
Yep.
That's really cool. Like you go back in time on accident and do the thing that you think is a good thing to do and ends up totally fucking the world.
Yep.
The story's really like simple and very clearly presented, but I think that it has like some pretty fun little genre twists in it.
Yeah. And there are lots of kind of feints in here as well. I was for as much as it was kind of like, oh yeah, this is this kind of story, there were a couple of points where I was like, oh, that's a cool decision. Yeah.
Same. Like it, set your expectations, but good genre piece.
Yeah. And I just think like broadly from the story to the mechanics and stuff, and it's going to sound like I'm stealing this from a number of reviews, but I kind of arrived at this on my own as well. Like this is a game that just knew what to steal. You know,
Yeah.
it is pulling from a whole bunch of other games, sometimes farcically so. You have a female sidekick who has an outfit that is basically just Alex Vance.
It's very funny that they included an Alex Vance.
You've got an Alex Vance in here, yeah.
You know, got to have that. You know, and then they also stole bad things like the 2-weapon limit.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that, which is a bummer. But the things that they stole all made, you know, sense. And even just the first person shooter with powers,
Yeah.
kind of thing had been around,
Yeah.
for a while in the water.
Yep.
No quick save, which is a bummer.
Yep.
And if you're going to get this, wait for a sale.
Please, God,
we're going to
do.
talk sugar about this, but it's like $30 or $40 for some reason.
It's $30 on both Steam, GOG, and I think Humble, which it makes me think. So because this didn't sell really well, all I can think of is the Waterworld arcade game from The Simpsons.
Oh yeah,
where Milhouse is playing, and it's like insert $20 in quarters every 4 steps.
yeah. They really are trying to make their money back, you know, a decade after.
Yeah.
And not to, you know, arguing about the price. Like, I understand a lot of work went into this just because it's old. I was happy to spend, you know, $10 on it.
Yeah.
You know, that sounds about right for a game of this vintage. To me,
It's one of those weird ones that is the price is way out of step compared to how long ago it came out, and you know, the generation and stuff like that. So it regularly goes on sale for like $7.50 or something like that. Just put it on a wish list and get a notification on your storefront of choice.
So this is made by Raven Software. This is the second Raven game we've done for the show.
What was the first one?
Do you remember what the first one was?
Oh God, X-Men Legends 2, right?
Yeah, X-Men Legends 2. These are the fellas. I love Raven Software.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking at their catalog and I'm like, oh, it's like, first of all, it's the Heretic and Hexen people, which like that might be a vanity pick for me next year.
Yeah. Bangers.
I fucking love those games.
Yeah.
And then all the good like X-Men Legends, like, which are probably, you know, Ultimate Alliance, which are probably my favorite flavor of Diablo. You know, Diablo 'em up.
Yeah.
And then this.
Yeah.
Like, this is, you know, good shit, man. These guys, I like Raven Software.
Like, even around this time, like Quake 4 has good moments to it, and the Wolfenstein 2009, like that is pretty good actually. Like,
yeah, I've heard that is good.
Yeah.
You know, so they worked with id and Electronic Arts. They signed a deal to develop games for Activision in 1997 and worked with other properties. So we mentioned that they also did those Star Wars games are really well thought of.
Yes. Yeah. The Jedi Knight.
So, you know, the X-Men Legends games, Quake, Wolfenstein, all that stuff. When they finished Wolfenstein 2099, they wanted to pitch their own game idea. And Activision did not provide them very much support.
No.
They approved it, but just barely. It was the only original IP that they had coming out. And as we'll find out, they did not do a good job of supporting it.
No, they didn't. So the studio heads who came up with the idea, they had memories of exploring an abandoned military base when they were younger, around where they grew up. Raven is based out of Madison, Wisconsin. And they wanted to kind of make a game that, you know, had that as a setting, or was informed by that, but also, you know, by Cold War stuff from when they grew up in the 80s. And so kind of they came and arrived at this. And what they pitched was incredibly ambitious. And in fact, like an ambitious version of this was shown at E3. They got everybody really excited. Where time manipulation was going to be like used on pretty much everything in the environment to reshape the battlefield on the fly, which is a cool idea, but was unrealistic.
It's not something that games have traditionally pulled off very well.
Right.
You know, like that's a promise that pops up a lot. I remember playing Red Faction on my PS2 after reading reviews and being like, oh, cool, the environment's destructible. And what that meant in practice was like one time I could tunnel through a wall with a rocket launcher. You know, it is pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of not there yet. And they got pretty far along with that idea, you know, and realized like this is too difficult. Designing levels with that mind is very difficult. With that mind is very difficult. When they were trying it, it was very difficult not to like have people just break the game.
Yes.
You know, constantly. And it wasn't technologically feasible.
Yeah.
Really.
It would require either keeping 2 versions of the world in memory, So you could swap back and forth between them, or like constantly streaming two different versions into memory,
Yes.
which just at that time in 2010 was just not something that was possible. I mean, like that was the big like technological innovation with the Medium, the recent Bloober Team game. The narrative missteps in that aside, the presentation in that is pretty good. And they really, made a big point to say like, hey, this is like one of the first games to really get this idea of seamlessly switching back and forth between two versions of a world, right. The way the way that they did. So like, that was released in 2020. Here in 2010, that would have been a miracle for them to even do it. They apparently got pretty close, but this had to be a console and PC launch. PS3 and Xbox 360 couldn't handle it, and even like high-end PCs were really chugging at it when they made an attempt. It wasn't shippable.
Yeah. So they canceled it, but just for one day, and it was like officially canceled for one day. What a bummer.
Yeah.
They've ultimately decided to rework it instead. Activision announced a delay for it, saying, hey, we're going to give Modern Warfare 2 some breathing room, but really, this was really to make Singularity playable and get something to ship.
Yes.
So they brought in a new lead for it, this new creative director who said, nothing new. Take the things that you've already made and make that into a game.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
In 10 months.
They described it as triage. Yeah. So this is where kind of all of those ambitious ideas were really drastically scaled back to what we ended up getting, which is admittedly a compromised product, but also it's pretty fun, So it's hard to say that it was a failure,
Yeah. It's a victim of its times in lots of ways, ironically. And appropriately enough. Got pretty good reviews, bad sales, which is kind of a bummer because apparently the multiplayer mode in this is very cool. Did you read at all about that or watch any of it online?
Yeah, it's like territory taking, right?
Well, it's that, but it's humans versus monsters. It's like like Left 4 Dead, like the monster team. You can be all of these different monster things that have their powers as well.
Nice.
So like there are monsters that blink, there are monsters that go out of phase and become invincible, things like that.
Oh yeah, I missed that detail.
Yeah, so I'm like that sounds pretty rad to me. Yeah. So yeah, bummer. And then Raven was hit with all these layoffs because the game flopped. And they basically now work in the Call of Duty's mines, like coding multiplayer for Call of Duty games.
Yeah. They did take the lead on Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, subtitled edition. Just Cold War. Apparently that's good and fun in the way that those campaigns are good and fun. I'm probably not going to try it, though, because I don't want to take missions from Ronald Reagan. So,
What if you could get a non-standard game over by... Sirhaning him.
I think that you're trying to entrap me, sir.
Yeah. Well, it's not a big deal if I don't hear down at Lorelei's Lounge that I housed Dylan's burger. I was curious about, like, after I played this, I was like, man, Raven, and I'm like, I'm not going to play one of these Call of Duty games. I'm just going to play X-Men Legends again.
Yeah.
So fuck that. I'm still not super into Call of Duties, just because I have an appetite for one of these kind of corridor military shooters once a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't mean I am now like fully shooter pilled.
I would probably want to save my one or two a year for things that were a little bit further off the beaten path than that.
And that we're doing for the show.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it. But we're gonna spoil everything. It doesn't matter too much. You could still play it, and I do recommend it.
Yeah.
I think this is really fun, especially if you're feeling like that and you're in the in the mode for it. Like if this sounds good to you, like, hey, first person shooter where you do time crimes and have time powers. If that sounds fun to you, I think this is a pretty easy recommend.
Absolutely.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. So we open with some explanation, kind of the alternate history here. It's during the cold... Oh, good.
It's done in the same kind of animatic that the No Handlebars video is made, firmly placing this in 2010.
Yep.
Like,
there's a lot that's 2010 about this. We're gonna get to a video that is like straight up just in the style of the old anonymous videos.
yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah. But it is the Cold War. The Soviets were behind in the nuclear race, but then Stalin's men discovered this strange element deep underground on an island called E99. And they put their superstar scientist Viktor Borisov there to set up this research station with unlimited funds, thus creating the facility Katorga 12, which is a fun word to say.
It's super fun to say. We should note that if you speak Russian, this game does not do a good job with it. It's aesthetic Russian. Where they just, if something looks like the shape like an English letter, they use that instead.
Yeah.
But finding direct translations of the words in this are very funny.
Yep. It's hilarious too, because they just, like even just English words are stylized with it. So you get those backwards R's and the P's and stuff. So like if you actually sounded this out phonetically, it'd be just nonsense garbage. It's hilarious.
Yeah. It's very much just like we all have to, politics aside, we all have to realize that Soviet Russia had the coolest aesthetics. Mm-hmm. Like it's just incredible.
Yep.
Stuff. It's like the coolest font. All of that stuff is incredibly good. And this game recognizes that and does not care about the actual culture and history whatsoever. Yeah. Which I respect.
Although it does take a pretty humane approach to the rank and file people. Like, the people who are just living there. Yeah.
Well, and Borisov, like who turns, there's a twist ending, but Borisov seems like a solid bro.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this solid bro is pressured to get into more full scale tests before he's ready, and this causes this huge explosion in 1955. Russia buries the incident. Still at Chernobyl, pre-Glasnost, Glasnost kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So in 2010, a U.S. spy satellite is blinded by this radiation surge, and we don't trust Russia because of this and because of Chernobyl. We send a team to investigate.
Yes. Yeah,
us and Devlin.
Just
I
the most
hate Devlin.
Just the most up the middle Nolan North performance that has ever existed.
I was very worried that I was going to spend the entire game with Devlin.
Yeah, I was worried he was going to be my handler.
And then when he died, I was like, man, now who's going to tell me to stay Frosty all the time? And I was like, fucking Devlin, Frosty is what I always stay.
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
I went through the same training you did. We're in the same situation, dog.
We are peers, Devlin. Like, I understand that I think that Devlin is actually like your commanding officer.
Uh-huh.
By just a little bit, like one of those baby commanding officers, like a sergeant. I don't know what the word is for it, but like there's private and then there's the slightly better private. I think he's one of the slightly better privates.
Yeah.
But it's like being like a professor with tenure. Who gives a shit?
Right.
I'm like, don't boss me around, Devlin.
Yeah, nothing gives you that.
We helicopter in the intro here. This will be important for later. We see a statue of somebody holding a sickle that is like flooded. Mm-hmm. These weird flecks of light are coming off of it while Devlin keeps on a non-ending monologue of Jarhead nonsense.
Yeah.
And an EMP takes our choppers down. Unfortunately, separating us from Devlin and the rest of our squad mates who are presumed dead. Because we never see them again.
It's only you and Devlin. The cast in this, aside from the poor people who end up victims to what happens here, the cast in this is mercifully very small, which makes it easy to keep track of. But you wake up on the docks. You've kind of crashed outside of this visitor center. And you start finding notes, like they're just fun notes written around. You were sharing some good screenshots of these, including one about weird
they're
milk.
Very funny.
Yeah,
they're funny. I'm going to write my diary and then just write one paragraph at a time on a single piece of paper and just leave it in random spots.
Yeah.
As you do. So we make our way past the docks and it's just video game shorthand that something horrible has happened here. There's all these charred corpses. Mm-hmm. Things like that. We can watch these propaganda newsreels like Half-Life. It's amazing how much Half-Life changed video games. Yeah. Because we don't shoot for a long time in this game. Yeah. Where we're just hanging around, checking out this newsreel. The narrator sounds like Cormit, which I love.
Yeah. Tiny puppets.
Different accent, but it sounds very much like Cormit.
Yeah. But just talking about like, Katorga 12 is under threat from the west, but we've got this is our ace in the hole, right? And we get a flash as we're kind of walking down some of these hallways. of a man who's, sealed into this room and begging to be let out, but then quickly return to normal. What we're getting are these like time echoes where kind of our perception is taken back to the initial disaster that ruined this place.
So that we get sent back in time during the disaster. The building is on fire. We're running around. It's very chaotic. Somebody's falling through the floor here, and somebody else is like, "Hey, don't save Demichev." But they're cut off by falling debris that kills them. So we're like, "Oh, I'm going to save who I want."
Yeah.
We grab Demichev, and immediately there's a nice little bit of characterization. Like Demichev is immediately really bossy with you. This guy who we think is just gonna be a victim, he's like, "You have to carry me."
Yep,
like he's really a prick, for having just been pulled out of a fire. We pull him out and send him, bring him to the entrance hall next to the statue of Stalin. And when things flash to the present, instead of a statue of Stalin, it's a statue of Demichev.
Yeah.
We've gone back in time and saved Hitler on accident.
Oops.
A new twist on that kind of thing.
Yeah. And, man, you're right. He really does go right to carry me. I expect, just as a courtesy, at least one, I'll just slow you down, save yourself.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you don't mean it.
Or just like his leg is hurt.
Yeah.
So he can still limp out of the fire. Like it just feels like getting me out of the fire is pretty good, but not even really like a thank you. Just kind of like my leg is destroyed. You have to save me, or you have to carry me. I'm like, man, what a prick.
Yeah.
Turns out this guy's a real jerk.
So the present has changed. We're on this isolated island, so we don't know what else has happened. But at the very least, this Demichev guy became the leader of Russia. So, or the Soviet Union rather. And there's an audio log here talking about how things at the lab turned around when Dr. Demichev went to Moscow. And, it says, "Oh, whoever saved him from that fire did us a huge favor." And we're notably not hearing, previously we heard mentions of this Borisov. Now all of it is kind of taken over and led by Demichev.
Yeah. It's worth noting also because of the era, we have a silent protagonist.
Yes.
Here. So we never get to see what he thinks. Whenever I have a silent protagonist, I use the mouse to nod or shake my head when people ask me questions because I think it's funny.
Yeah.
But that's exclusively all Ringo can do. So we're in the residential district here, and we're moving forward, trying to get to this rendezvous point with Devlin. We go through the streets of this like workers division, still no monsters. We're learning that the explosion flooded the island with radiation. It's mutating people. And we're finding like creepy notes. We're going through an apartment building, where people lived when they worked on the island, and finding out, people are locking themselves away and changing it into monsters.
Yes.
And we get attacked. We shoot we grab a gun. We get our first gun. One of the things I like about the gun in this, even though it's not very good, is that it's big and loud.
Yep.
It's almost like it starts you with a Magnum. And I was thinking about how I want that in non-Resident Evil games. That's how I want it to be. Like, do not give me the pea shooter.
Yeah.
But we shoot the padlock off the door, and a skeletal monster comes out of it and tackles us.
Yeah. And we shoot him, and we get up. So now monsters are in play.
Yeah, but still really lightly. Like we're still mostly just exploring.
Yeah, like this school is the most like outright survival horror that we get here.
Yeah. And it's creepy. We're going through and we're finding notes. Cartoonishly evil Demichev is moving E99 equipment into the school, and then giving the kids assigned lunches and classes to keep them together, and they're starting to get really sick.
Yeah. It's hilarious. Like in the kitchen, you get you find a note that says, "Okay, put this special powder only in the meals that are going to the kids at table 1." You can go over to table 1 and you can see that there are these like glowing orange tendrils of light coming up from the plates and trays there, and you can just hear this constant chorus of kids wailing near it.
It's real spooky. The note is like, put this orange powder into their food. It's entirely harmless and just as an experiment enhancer.
Just a supplement.
Yeah, it's like ugh.
It's testosterone force. 4.
Yeah. It's ground up snowboarders that Joe Rogan snorts to gain his brain power to become the most curious man in the world.
The most credulous man in the world.
Yeah. I like it. Yep. Here, eat this orange powder, Joe Rogan. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. No. This pill makes you think Jordan Peterson makes sense.
Ridiculous. We get to see little educational film strips with kids, that were here, where it's explaining Dr. E99, the cartoon mascot, comes out. It's like, this is going to help us with War with the West, and there's big Uncle Sam, monstrous Uncle Sam's. Here. There's a really great little bit in the school where you walk in and you see the Force Ghost teacher telling the kids to duck and cover. And then when you go back to modern times, under all the desks are just skeletons.
Jesus.
Like kid skeletons. Like, this is one of the few games that has dead kids in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because it's my IMDb tag of choice or anything. It's just if you're going to have this school stuff, it's weird that there's only adult skeletons.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't dance around this. This will be the quarter of dead kids, because we're also doing Silent Hill. There are shitloads of dead kids in that.
Hell yeah. Sign me up.
Just gonna clip that out of context, and we're good.
It's no big deal. You're talking down at L'Oreal Lounge. So this is good and spooky here, and we're fighting monsters sometimes. Here, especially once we get the weapon that will carry you through the entire game.
Yep, never drop
Valkyrie assault rifle. It's man, this game gives you a lot of fun weapons, but all the enemies only carry ammo for this one. So it's like, I'm going to use this. Very good. We're fighting monsters at this point, and they don't have a lot of powers, and we don't have a lot of powers. We're just shooting them. It's just dudes, lumpy boys. Eventually they're going to get more tricky to fight.
Yes. Yeah. But we get audio logs about this event that caused an evacuation order, the thing that caused the mutations, and unfortunately we meet up with Devlin. He's by this courtyard. We have to fight off some monsters while he tries to get the door open, and this is kind of one of the few tandem fight scenes that we have, again, as he reminds us that if one has the ability, if you can choose, Frosty is how I would stay, but then again, I'm just your CO, so I'm
no Devlin. Devlin, I want to put Devlin's face on a book that's like The Secret, but it's for staying frosty. We gotta get staying frosty into the goop mindset. Gwyneth Paltrow, stay frosty with this new vagina egg.
Keep your powder dry and this egg wet.
Yeah, and stay frosty.
Yeah.
So we eventually get there. We fight through the administrative building. We get a shotgun here. I use the shotgun a lot, but I don't love it.
It's for as fun and kinetic as the other weapons tend to feel, it's a real limp shotgun, actually.
It's weird because it doesn't have the kinesthetics of feeling really good, even though it's pretty powerful. Like when I eventually realized, I deadlock and then I walk into the time orb and shoot everyone in the back of the head, and that's my loop. It was really good for that. Like even the big monsters, you can freeze them and empty a clip of the shotgun and they'll die. But it doesn't feel very good. It's not loud enough, not satisfying enough. Like video game shotguns.
It's important.
It's important. But we're getting to this radio tower, which is the rendezvous point to radio our troops. This is where Devlin says the classic line, "Let's finally get out of this circle jerk," which is not what that means.
Nope.
Devlin. A circle jerk is when you and a bunch of your bros sit around in a circle and jerk each other off.
Yeah, it is
for solidarity.
Yeah, it's to be good comrades.
Yeah, it's praxis, Devlin.
Yeah, no, just the circle jerks are archetypical mutual aid.
It's
very mutual.
Yeah, I love give a bunch of money to the circle jerk that is hurricane relief. Just neighbors jerking neighbors. What he means is like a foobar,
clusterfuck,
clusterfuck, snafu, something like that. That's not what circle jerk means, though. So it's pretty funny. This guy has been yelling at me to stay frosty this whole time. Doesn't know what words mean.
I see. It's a bad day. You try saying words right after you've been in a helicopter crash.
It would be very difficult.
It would.
I think I would probably simply die.
Oh man. Outside the gate is powered down, and we get our the first of many hey, go power this up so the door will open. It's fine. There's fun There's a fun little scene here. There's a guy who was hoarding food and only giving it out for sexual favors, and we get to see him get got by a monster.
Yeah. Yeah. What it got what you deserved, buddy. Don't hoard food. Beyond the gate, we get introduced to our sniper rifle. The sniper rifle, again, in a thing that does not make any sense for in the game world, but is just fun and makes the weapon more fun. You can slow down time while going through the sights of the sniper rifle. You don't have time powers yet.
Nope.
It just comes with the rifle.
It's just your preternatural focus is what you are doing. It's like you're holding your breath. It
says time dilation.
Yep, it does.
But it's again that's just a better decision because sniping, especially with a controller, like you want that additional aid.
Yes.
So we take out some monsters between us. It's just kind of teaching us about these weapons.
Yeah.
We get to the radio tower, which seems like it's gonna be a safe room. It has a weapon locker and a weapon upgrade system. The upgrades are not cool, unique upgrades. It's just damage, reload, and clip capacity. This is pretty basic. Here.
Yeah.
Before you can really use it, though, a chopper descended and turned this into a defense section for me.
Yep. So we have the sniper rifle, and we have a vantage point, and we need to stop the people from getting up to the stairs and flooding us here. And it's fun. It's kind of shooting fish in a barrel. This is kind of the last hurrah that we get of the combat before we have time abilities.
Yes. Yeah. So we take them out. This can still be kind of tricky here early on.
Yeah.
Devlin eventually tells us to retreat, and we have to do as Devlin do. We're running away. A Soviet soldier knocks us out.
Yeah. So jumps out, ambushes us from a door, and we're out. And we wake up. When somebody just rouses us, it is a Russian guy. He's got scars on his face, and he's wearing a very ostentatious fur cloak.
He's like a fabulous fop. This guy, I love Demichev.
Just very regal.
It's like he escaped from a Far Cry game.
But yeah, this is Demichev, the guy that we saved. And Devlin, just like name, rank, and serial number. That's all you get. Again, just running through the cliches. And
my last name is Renko. Lay off the.
Oh God. But it's not addressed. I like the way that this is revealed in dribs and drabs before they do the full exposition. But there are fun conversation cues about how drastically things have changed because this person lived next to you. It says the Geneva Convention. Fortunately, I did away with that years ago. And it'll be impossible for me to get you to an American embassy for a number of reasons. So, cool.
Primarily, which he shoots Devlin in the head.
Yeah.
And I was a wreck.
Were you distraught, or were you just like hooting and hollering, calling the boys over?
Just pouring one out into my mouth. I'm just joking. I don't think the game was trying to wring any pathos out of Devlin. But man, fucking Devlin. Good thing he's dead.
We get better handlers.
Demichev is not. He's looking at you and he's like, "How is it that you haven't aged a day?" Like he remembers you. At this point, I was like, "Oh, this is shit. This is the dude I saved." Not at this point, but I mean when I ran into him. That's fucking weird. He says you have to have the TMD. Where is it? We don't know what that is.
Right.
And he thinks we're lying, but this conversation is interrupted by a bunch of bullets coming down. And this gives us a distraction to escape. A woman named Catherine radios you and tells you to run.
Yeah. Your hands are bound in front of you, and this is just her kind of shouting out directions for you. Follow the open doors, take a right at the stairs, like that kind of thing. It's real kind of matrixy. But
because the shooters of around 2010, you have an invisible stamina meter that determines how long you can sprint.
Yeah.
2010, folks.
Weird. Yeah. But you run until she grabs you and pulls you into a little hideout. This is where we start getting a bunch of exposition. She is from this resistance organization called Mir 12. She shows a video that explains what is happening, and this is the video that is very much, we're many, we are legion, we're watching, anonymous style kind of things.
Yeah, It's also the same kind of like there are PragerU videos that look like this as well. That like leftist YouTubers have like shown me. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Borisov died in a lab accident. Demechev took over the research, and he used D99 super weaponry and basically took over the world. However, Mir 12 has access to a journal that contradicts his version of events.
Yeah.
It talks about this structure on Katorga 12 known as a singularity.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the structure does, but Mir 12 has dedicated themselves to tracking down a name from the journal, Renko, which is you, to find answers.
Yeah. And so she gives you a gun again and says, "Hey, you're gonna need to go into Borisov's lab to get this TMD. He's hidden it in a place where they can't find it. But that'll be the key to setting things right."
Yes. And also where you get the powers and stuff.
Yes.
This game does really humorous and over the top corpse decorations. This is where you come out in the equipment bay and it's just like decorated with hanging dead soldiers everywhere. Like an abattoir. Yeah. Later, they use a forklift to stab into two soldiers' heads and then lift them up in a field later.
Yep.
I just think this it's so stupid. Is this from Dusk? So funny.
I walked into this room, this equipment bay, and I just laughed because like just human bodies hung up like tinsel, like it's fucking Christmas.
It's very tinsel. Like they're spelling words in it in Stranger Things.
Yep.
This is where we start getting glimpses of these new enemies that are humanoids that can blink around.
Yeah.
It's like hunting you, crawling on the walls and stuff, and then when you look at it, it blinks away.
If you turn around quick enough, you can see that like when it blinks away, it's periodically like behind you before it blinks somewhere else. Yeah. This is a really canny way to introduce this guy before you fight it. The way that he's just kind of stalking you through this entire room.
Super cool.
Neat. It's good. And we get these glimpses outside where the complex is being ripped apart by these huge thorny vines that are growing up. So it's the plant life that is mutating as well. And we get these flashes of survivors, who are just like running out of options, a real, end of the mist kind of thing. Where one guy, just like executes everybody, but he doesn't have a last bullet for himself, and then a monster gets him.
Yeah, sad.
We
did a lab. An audio log explains that Demechev led a mutiny against Borisov because Borisov would not test the E99 on humans.
Yeah.
And we get a flashback of Borisov sneaking into a specimen pod. So this teaches us how to get down to his secret lab.
Yeah,
by crawling into it.
It is a hidden elevator, kind of down into this cavern where they mined out the original, some of the original E99 samples before they industrialized it, which is canny because it masks the energy signature of the device.
Yeah. There's a couple like good little hand waves of this because when we get to watch a little explainer, like a little film strip about the TMD, the time glove, it can age or de-age items, but only items that have been infused with E99, which is a clever little way. Like I understand originally that, you were supposed to be able to do this with everything in the game. When the developers, when they came in and was like, okay, make something with what you have now. I think this is a pretty clever narrative conceit.
Yeah.
For why this doesn't work on everything.
It's a little bit like in Portal 2 where they explained, why there are only some portals or why there are only certain surfaces you can hit a portal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The moon paint.
Yeah. Similar to that. Yeah. Rip Cave Johnson.
Yeah.
But yeah. And, we learned that the TMD originally was this gigantic, unwieldy gun style device, but he had managed to miniaturize it, kind of turn it into this, a time glove. It is a glove that manipulates time as it is a device. And we get into the deepest part of the vault and put this on. It's a fun little scene. A lot of looking at your hands in this, like a first-person game. And the first time you fire it, it creates this shockwave that crumbles and decays the tunnel that led in here. And it's really neat. To get out of this, you have to use the device to reverse, undo what you did to clear the way out.
Yeah.
It's a very very well tutorialized thing.
Even once you get out in the lab and you have to get out, there's lots of or not to get out, but there are lots of little secrets. in the lab, like power-ups and stuff you can get to, and it's teaching you things like, weirdly enough, a crushed crate weighs more than a or less than a non-crushed crate.
Yeah.
So you can change the crush status of a crate to change its weight to use kind of seesaws and stuff.
Yeah.
Elevator up into things. Smashing stairs and then realizing you can go under the stairs. There are things like hidden under there, things like that. Just video game shit. I also think that for a game where you put your hand forward into a device, I admire their restraint that like nothing gets stuck. There's no needles, nothing gets stuck into your hand or anything like that. It's just a series of robots that put on a glove.
I was a little bit, I was a little unnerved when you got the automatic ones and they had those little needles that came out, but no, they were just doing like little micro welds to make sure it stayed on.
It's a very, very friendly glove putting on device.
It's the opposite of Resident Evil 8.
Yes. Or even BioShock.
Yeah, true.
That kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
So when you head back out, Catherine says, hey, use the device to return to 1950s, rescue Borisov here. When we were going down into that area with his elevator, there was like a time, anomaly.
Yeah.
But now we can zap it and go back in time.
Yeah.
To 1955 in the middle of the disaster. The coup, not the disaster.
Yeah.
The lab is under attack. Demichev's soldiers are slaughtering the scientists here.
Yeah. And you reach the place where Demichev is about to execute Borisov, and it is up to you as time slows down to shoot Demichev instead. It's funny, no matter where you shoot him, he still lives. Like the idea is like, oh, you wing him and he falls out a window. It's like, no, I put one between his eyes because I'm an operator. No, he's
good shot here.
Yeah, so I was a little bit surprised when he turned out to still be alive. But no, you are just making it so that Borisov is still alive, and he sees.
Can you give me? I put one between his eyes because I'm an operator in a Dermot voice.
I put one in between his eyes because I'm an operator.
Very good. This is a real Dermot-ass line, dude.
Yeah. I think I did it intentionally as a joke. It's fun.
No, I know. I just. So Borisov sees that you have the time glove and sees your American uniform. He's like, "Oh, something terrible is happening here."
The America still exists.
We fucked up. Foreshadowing. He says like, hey, we go back to his lab, following him, kind of escorting him, but he's invincible.
Yeah,
so that's great. Demichev turned on him because he wouldn't work on the Singularity. He didn't want, it wasn't just testing on humans. It was also working with the Singularity.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah. And he says, all right, well, if we're going to do this, you're going to need this. And he gives you the Seeker, which, as we mentioned in the generalities, is just incredibly fun. We have to fight our way back to a different lab with a rift that will take us to 2010.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we do this, we show up to an older Borisov greeting us over a video screen. He says, "Oh, you haven't aged today." He sent a mutual friend to guide you to the tower where he's hiding out from Demichev's men. And this is where we get our hero augmenter, where we can step in and upgrade our hero abilities here. I read a pro tip about this. If you are going to play this after listening to the episode, prioritize healing kits. We didn't really talk about healing in the generalities, but the way that it handles in this game is there are both pickups that you find just on the ground that heal you immediately, and then health kits.
Yes.
And you'll use them like they are meant to be used. They are not a precious resource.
Yeah.
You get refilled with them between encounters a lot of the time, but being able to carry a lot more of them just increases your survivability so much.
It does. Yeah.
So upgrading the number you can carry and how much they heal should be a priority.
Yeah. That is one of the first-person shooter trends that this didn't indulge in, which is great. This doesn't have the, you take a couple of bullets, so take cover for a little bit and you regen. You have the, you have the running health bar that you have to manage with resources, which works and is good.
You can see why they did that too, because if originally the game was, having the regenerating health, it requires cover and a lot of like hidey holes to hang out in while you regen. which is something they could have done with the game as it is, but something that would have been very difficult with the game as it was, if they're going to make it real time manipulable at all times. Like, yes, you could possibly create cover for yourself, but that's so complicated. So on top of every other consideration, making sure you have, a wall you can hang out behind while your guy catches his breath would have been a pain.
It would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get the gravity gun added to our glove.
Yeah, it gives us a new core. This is, it is not quite as satisfying as the gravity gun, but it lets you catch projectiles that are thrown at you. You can also pick up exploding barrels and throw them. Grab pickups at a distance. It's serviceable and fine.
This also, the TMD replaces your melee attack with a burst.
Yes.
That you do that knocks enemies back and does some damage to them. Did you fuck around with the melee attack very much before this happened?
Nope, not at all.
It is one of the weirdest, stiffest knife stabs I've ever seen in a video game.
It's stiffer than the knife stab. Let's go ahead.
It plays like knifestab.mpeg. It's the same every single time. It's like a GIF of stabbing somebody with a knife. It's very weird.
Is it stiffer than the knife stabs in Dead Island?
Ooh, those are stiff stabs.
That's a stiff stab there, buddy.
I forgot about them stiff ass stabs.
Disappointing, unsatisfying stabs.
Yeah. I don't want a satisfying stab.
Yeah. It's a brushing motion, not a stabbing motion. Yeah. There's shrieking fellows following you in the vents as well. We get our first of the use a collapsed crate as a jack puzzles. It's neat. It would have been nice if they had a little bit more, a few more pieces to collide to make these puzzles more interesting, but that's not what this is. So
the neat thing is that you just have to figure out that this is something you can do.
Yes.
That the game doesn't tell you at all. Like maybe if you hang out for a long time, you get a tooltip.
Maybe, yeah.
But just the idea of not only when I bring this thing back in time, it's bigger.
Yeah.
We head out to the shipping yard here. Out, this timeline is not better.
No,
that we've saved Verisov. The island is crawling with these Zeks, which are the teleporting fellas.
Yes.
And the little time tendrils, the time plants that are kind of ephemeral, are glowing, are bigger, and there are more of them.
Yes. Yeah. So these Zeks will attack you, and sometimes they will be out of phase, so they'll be incorporeal. So you end up needing to use your impulse attack, the melee replacement, to kind of knock them over and get them back into phase. Something that does end up being a little bit of a bummer in this is that until the end, this has limited energy. Recharges slowly over time, but if you end up trying to fire one of these, in the clutch, if you're doing this, it means that something's right on top of you and your meter is empty. It takes a very long time to use the little pod, the animation to kind of recharge this, to fill it back up is pretty long. So there were a couple of times where I took hits just because it was, just barely not enough to fire off a blast. So it would have been nice if there was a reload on that. Absolutely.
Well, and it's a thing too where early on before you upgrade it, it's actually pretty scarce. They do a thing that I like, which is the non-combat applications for your time glove do not take energy.
Yeah.
So you can do things like, I'm going to repair this reel-to-reel so I can listen to this lore note. You don't have to make a decision about whether you want to spend ammo on that. But it is early on when you do not have a lot of time energy.
Yeah.
You can't quite spam this as much as you maybe want to.
Yes.
So we fight our way around this elevator, and we see this huge angry mutant starts attacking us, and we get into a little chase. We get in the elevator. It chases the elevator up the building, climbing the wall, like King Kong. And we get in this hallway into the admin office, and it's just nested with these tendril tripwires.
Yeah.
These do a little bit of damage when you break them, but they have a point you can shoot to take them out. I like that these get explained. I had forgotten that there was an explanation for them, and they explain them in the last 20 minutes of the game or something.
They do, yeah.
And a really late lore note.
Yeah, but they look similar to the time flora that we've seen kind of around.
Yes.
Yeah. The big guy pins us at one point, and we end up fending him off by shooting this glowing part of his chest. It is a big glowing weak point, but also like it's where these parasites are. It's a little like you know what a good point of comparison for this is actually, like for the scale and like scope and interestingness of this. Psyops, the Mindgate conspiracy.
Oh,
actually,
sure.
this is a Psyops ass game. Like it doesn't wear out its welcome.
Energy.
Yeah, this is like that game wore out its welcome in a weird way. But the fact that like that these are monsters made by these like weird extra dimensional parasites that are let in. That's Psyops as fuck. Yeah,
it's very Psyops. Well, and Psyops wore out its welcome specifically by introducing invisible enemies.
Yeah.
And when this game does invisible enemies near the end, it's like an invisible enemy mini boss. Or just one or two. Like it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
So yeah, he after you shoot him in the weak point, he runs away. We cross this little courtyard fighting regular soldiers and reach material storage.
Yeah.
And we see a boss arena. I was thinking about a novelty Twitter account that's foreboding video game drop. Because this game is full of that kind of thing where you get to it. Oh, this is a one-way drop. And there's a bunch of waist-high walls down there. But the big guy has caught us, and we get our first of like comparatively very few boss fights in this game.
And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say this: boss fights in this game are good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, generally that is where a first-person game is going to stumble if they try. No, these are fun. Like not necessarily breaking a lot of new ground, but like there were many ways that these could have ended up being tedious that they just didn't.
The second one takes a lot of cues from rail shooters.
Yes.
In the way that it's designed, which I think is a smart move. This is a big guy. He's got these parasites on his chest, but they're covered initially. He throws explosive barrels at you, which you catch and throw back, which then makes him expose his little glowy chest, which you shoot. He also jumps around and hangs on like rebar.
Yep.
On the side, and sometimes we'll throw in some ads.
Yes.
And once you take care of his chest wound, he'll bring out an axe, and this gets stuck on the ground, which allows you to go around back and hit him in the back.
Yeah.
With hit his back weak point.
And then the third one's on his head, and he kind of mixes up tactics for that. It's good and satisfying. It's a good boss fight. It never doesn't feel good to grab a projectile out of the air and throw it back at whoever threw it. Yeah.
And the window is so generous for it in this game. Like the amount of precision, like if the grenade is anywhere near zip code, you'll grab it. And these are barrels, these are even bigger, but if somebody throws a grenade,
you can do likewise.
After you take him out, Catherine flags you down. And you go with Catherine, you fight towards Barasov's tower. Catherine's real nothing.
Yeah.
Character in this game. They're really setting her up, as somebody, but she's really not. You're keeping the Zeks off our tail. We reach this tower, the power is off. And we're surrounded by a fence. The Zeks are crawling over it, so we can use the TMD to restore these power junctions to make sections of the fence electric to knock them off while Catherine shoots them while we wait for the elevator to power up.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like keeping plates spinning because they'll decay, and then you have to repair them again to kind of keep your defenses up while shooting any that manage to get over. Good defense stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Inside the lab, we get another film strip. I just love how many instructional film strips we get for people to say, I could explain this to you, but why don't we let our good friend Dr. D99 do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This one says what the consequences were of us saving Demichev, basically.
Yes.
He became obsessed with the Singularity. He took over the island and ran this tower until it exploded. But also produced enough E99 before this happened for Russia to arm up and preemptively drop an E99 bomb on the United States.
Yes.
Really stuck it to us.
Yeah.
So after this, he had the clout to oust Khrushchev and become chancellor for life.
Yeah. And Catherine lays out our mission along with Barasov here saying, hey, if we go back and destroy the Singularity Tower in the past, then history will correct itself. That obviously had something to do with how Demichev, managed to take over the world, and, we can undo him at that point. Obviously, they're slightly off about what the real problem was there, but that'll be our mission here for a little bit. To do that, we're going to need to find this E99 bomb that was lost when a tanker called the Pearl sank in the harbor, because only something that is as powerful as the Singularity can destroy it.
Of course. Makes sense. So we take this lift down to this railway. We get a new TMD upgrade, which lets us create the deadlock. The deadlock's incredible. We talked about that in generalities, but my main tip for this game is use this more than you think you should initially. It solves the game.
Yep.
We're in this sewer, which is overtaken with this like gross organic matter. And when we were going through, when we fall through a grate, as you do, and we're introduced to a new enemy here, the E99 ticks.
Yeah, phase
these
ticks.
things are really annoying.
Hate these things.
Nobody likes these things. Even Titanfall 2 had these things.
Yep.
Like every video game has to have a little guy that runs at you and explodes and sucks.
Yeah.
And they eventually become okay because you have the E99 power to deal with them, because the best thing for them is the pulse melee attack. But when you this is where me having to recharge my pulse really fucked me.
Yeah. I had to attempt this several times, and a real bummer for this is the checkpoint is further back than I would like it to be.
Yes.
So the lack of a quick save really was a problem. Like what it wants you to do is like deal with the initial rush of these things until you can make a break for the hallway out of the main chamber where all the pods are, and then put a deadlock behind you to stop them from coming in, to stop the chase, and deal with the ones ahead of you down the hallway as you get a lead above the ones that are chasing you. That is what you want. It wants you to do. It took me a lot of death and trial and error to figure out that's what it wanted.
Yeah, this took me a few tries as well.
Yeah.
There's a nice little touch where these things spawn from these bubbles, these gross organic bubbles in the wall. And if you shoot the bubbles, they spawn one of them. But if you age them, the thing inside it rots.
Yep.
So you can age them instead of shoot them. A little cute, not a big deal, but kind of cute.
Yeah.
So you're running from these things, and you run this flashback in the tunnels. And it shows this tentacle monster impaling somebody with its claws. This thing is going to be a nemesis for a little bit.
Yeah.
And some wall graffiti that we can restore that says it can smell you. The little reveal on the wall graffiti I think is fun.
Yep.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
It's genre-y. Like it's not mind blowing, but I like it.
Yeah. I mean, like you're getting these things, it's written, and it is written in such a way that only somebody with a TMD can decipher it. And it's always like ominous and cryptic, notes like, don't trust the boy. Stuff like that.
There is literally a "don't trust the girl" that shows up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be kind of like casting down on some of the things that you're doing, but it's a fun turn with that. You end up taking a shelter from this tentacle in a shipping container when it kind of grabs you and then throws you kind of up to the surface, and you get knocked out when you fall from it. Can't be good for you to get knocked out this much.
You do get. I mean, well, it ends up making sense at the end of the game. It's fine. Borisov wakes you up, like you made it, waving from the top of this control tower, saying like, "Hey, Damage have men, attack the tower. You need to get up here." So you get up to the top, and he says like, "Hey, Damage have knows where you are. He sent people. He knows what we're up to." We have to move forward. We have to activate this construction crane to get across. Once we do this, we can ride this platform. This is like a little shooting section. Like you can get a sniper rifle, but they also give you a new weapon called the spike shooter.
Yeah.
I don't like this thing.
No.
You charge it, and that's fine. But when it hits an enemy, it takes a while to explode.
Yeah.
During which time they shoot you.
Yep. See, that's the problem with a weapon, is that you're often using it against somebody who wants to kill you. It doesn't matter if you get the draw on them if your bullet is late to show. Yeah.
Yeah. If they get to keep shooting you while they wait to die. I needed them to stop shooting at me. That's why I'm shooting them.
Please. Yes.
You know?
Also, the spike shooter, like the area of effect on it is not wide enough for it to be useful in this situation. More useful than the sniper rifle. So this seems like a strange place to introduce it. I would have done it in closer quarters.
Yeah. Even then, it's a rough weapon for that. This doesn't really have a place.
Right.
There's a couple weapons in this game that I did not find a use for.
Yeah, that rocket launcher, which is just like, oh, what if we just had the Half-Life rocket launcher in this? Sure,
Yeah.
why not? Well, why not would be you don't really have like a way to use it that's fun.
Yeah, it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
And there's some of them that are really cool, but then they neglect to design things around them. Like I like the grenade launcher you can drive
for the one puzzle.
Yeah, like for one little puzzle, and all the times I tried to use it because I thought it seemed cool, but it doesn't really work. Yeah. Probably a flaw in this, but I'm not using those things a lot anyway.
Yeah.
The Seeker also does a lot of rounding.
It does.
So when we get to the other end, we drop into this makeshift barracks here, where a squad commander is tearing into his leader about how his men can't take this anymore. And we kind of fight a little mini boss here, a like teleporting super Zek who's fast and evasive and smart. Here, we have to freeze him with the deadlock. This is similar to the last boss fight, which was teaching us, "Hey, use the gravity gun."
Yeah,
this one's saying, "Hey, use the deadlock." Freeze him in place because he'll dodge either with this or with cryo canisters that are everywhere.
Yeah.
I love cryo canisters. If you get frozen, you just have to burst your way out. If enemies get frozen, if you leave them long enough, they just thaw out and go back to attacking you. Which, like, that's fucking dedication, man. Like, you're not going to just get discharged.
Yeah. I'm going to go home now. I got frozen.
Yeah, I'm going to surrender.
Yeah.
Sorry, got frozen.
Time out. It seems like your weapons wouldn't work anymore after that.
Yeah. My mom said I was not supposed to get frozen today. Yeah.
I ruined my school clothes. No.
Yeah, I gotta go home. It wasn't fun anymore for me.
Oh man. But if this guy ends up getting too close to you, you can also use the impulse to kind of knock him, get him staggered here. You have a lot of options for dealing with this, which makes the what otherwise would be kind of an annoying thing where just the boss can decide, hey, you're not going to be able to damage me for a while. It ends up being you've got ways around that. So it's forgivable. It's
fun. We get this audio log for the next place where this guy lost a lot of men because he didn't realize that these beasts were blind. You could just walk by them, introducing us to the revert tunnels. Big fans of Tony Hawk 3, these people.
Yeah.
Reverts are zombies that have been advanced or regressed. Was it saying something about people?
I don't know.
Yeah, so humans become reverts on some kind of timeline.
Is it like Crimson Heads where like they pass through being a Zek to being this?
It's not very well explained. We had to get the the lore compendium, the Art of Singularity, for that. But this is cool. Like they don't they're slow and blind and they move around really slowly, so you can just kind of crouch and walk through. But they put them guarding a lot of treasure. And stuff, and they're not invincible or anything. Like you can just take them out.
Yeah,
it's a genuine choice between it's not like the Lickers in RE2 remake, right? Where like that is a choice, but you really don't want to piss off the Lickers.
Oh God, no.
This it feels very like you can if you want. Like if you want to get through this, you can. If you want a tense crawling experience, but you can also have a fun shooting experience. Up to you.
What makes them dangerous, it's not just like a regular kind of fight. They will run up to you and they aggro in groups. Their sole attack is to do this acid vomit that does a lot of damage to you. So like one or two of these will kind of ruin your day in a pretty bad way if you're not aware of the consequences of waking these guys up. So you end up wanting to deal with them. They do something that, I could see being divisive, but I kind of like, especially when when you're sneaking around something that is kind of animalistic, you will think that it has seen you, like it'll react, or has sensed you. It'll react like it is about to attack you, but it's actually not. Like it's just giving you like a little bit of a brush off. So like you just have to keep your cool in the stealth situation and not panic and make things worse because it'll just move along. Like the Lickers do that as well. in The Last of Us. Not the lickers, the clickers.
Try to psych you
rather.
out.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Clickers and lickers.
Yeah.
When I was at this point and they did that, a little tiny ghost version of Devlin's head popped up and reminded me when I should stay.
Was it Frosty?
Because I was Frosty. And because I was Frosty, I didn't freak out.
And it's like, hey, Devlin, how did staying Frosty help you? How'd that turn out, bud?
It's the do what I say, not what I do. We stand a Frosty King. We get to the end of this, we get a really fun upgrade to our time gun, which allows us. This is why I think these things are humans at some point. Because you can turn human soldiers into reverts.
Yeah.
Which is there aren't that many opportunities for it, but there are, anytime you see a bunch of soldiers clustered together, this fucking owns.
Oh, it's so good.
Shit, Carl.
Oh no.
And it's a really good distraction. You're making a dangerous enemy. You know, like you don't do this against a dude.
No.
You do this against if you sneak up on people talking, or if you there are like three guys standing on an overhang shooting you.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So it is a good way. You still have to deal with the revert though. But it's not free to do this. It does cost you some energy, but it can be pretty good, and it gives you a preview. Like the end of this game, like the back quarter, does something that I really like, which is you are walking into a war between people and monsters, and deciding to let them deal with each other. And this is a little bit of a taste of that, but giving you the ability to control when it happens.
Yeah, agreed. We reach Catherine up at the top. She's going to take us to the next objective, the railway control tower. We get a new weapon here to cover her. I like this. They put you up on an overhang over the same area that you rode the crane through. So you're seeing it from the enemy's angle, and they give you either an autocannon or a sniper rifle. Here, depending on how you want to handle it. The autocannon also has a really great little grace note. You don't reload this.
Nope.
You slap an E99 device on top of it, and it goes back in time to when it was loaded.
That's so good.
Like, that's so cute.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
It's so inventive. Lots of little grace notes in this that are like, I love you, Raven.
Yeah, the holes are still there in the bodies. So like a bullet would work like this. Like a bullet. Like, why don't they put strings on bullets?
Why don't they put strings on the bullets like a slug for getting free plays at the arcade?
Yeah, except you're getting free slays at the barcade.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But the autocannon is it's a Gatling gun. It works just like the Gatling gun in Team Fortress 2. It either has a long wind up as the barrel gets spinning, or you can move more slowly, holding down the right mouse button or the alternate fire to keep it spinning, so you can keep it going. Literally just Team Fortress 2, which is good because that's a good minigun.
It's worth noting also that they position this next to the sniper rifle, and the reason why they do that is because this is an crazily accurate autocannon for like Gatling gun. Like it fires like with basically like machine gun accuracy.
Right.
Here. So it is a precision weapon, which is really weird.
This is also where they start introducing you have this, but you're also dealing with enemies that were using them. Kind of thrown into the mix of the enemies that you're taking out in this defense section are these elite Spetsnaz enemies. You can't use any of your time powers on them, at least the Age or the Revert, because they're wearing a special suit. They're highly armored, and they, at this point, also have autocannons, and they are emergencies. It takes an awful lot to deal with these guys.
Yeah, they are weak to deadlock. When you're not on an overhang, if you're fighting these guys on the ground, you deadlock them and then shoot them with a shotgun in the back of the head.
Yes.
But if you can't get the drop on them, they can do a lot of damage to you.
Yeah.
Catherine gets kidnapped after this, and we have to chase her down. This is one of the only timed sections of the game. Like 2010 games, no matter what you're doing, your handler will yell at you to hurry.
Yep.
Which is really obnoxious because part of the game is exploring for upgrade material and ammo and stuff. Here you actually can lose.
Yes.
If Catherine gets far enough away from you. As you go through hallways dealing with these autocannon fellas, which you want to deadlock, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
When you get to her in the end, time slows down so you can shoot the two soldiers that are holding her at gunpoint after Demichev leaves the room.
Of course.
Here.
Yeah.
And we saved her.
So, for now, she's not going to be with us for very long.
No.
Apparently, anyway. Yeah. So we reach the train yard. We've been trying to get down here because we have to get to the docks, and the quickest way there will be this train. Unfortunately, it is this rusted out wreck. It's in complete disrepair. And boom, there's another attack here. Catherine is going to be up here trying to repair this E99 amplification platform. But this is not tough because we get a seeker. And we get to, shoot just it's this very long combat hallway. Enemies are going to be using cover and stuff, but you just have to like fly up, get a bird's eye view, and then just bomb them from the top.
Rain sentient death upon them. It's so well positioned after the last two action set pieces where it's like, the overhanging sniper autocannon thing, which was tough, and then the tense hallways, battle that is actually timed. Like, here, have some seeker.
Yeah.
As a treat.
Yeah. Build up your confidence, get some momentum, go out there and knock out some easy ones. Yeah. Yeah.
Good pacing. After we get through it, we climb up and we use the TMD to assemble the train because of the platform, which boosts our powers. The train too big, so we need a booster.
Train too big.
Train too big. So we get the train working and we pull it out of the station.
Yeah. We're rolling along and things seem to be going fine. When what appears to be a huge tentacle rips out part of the track ahead of us on this bridge. And kind of derails the train. We're kind of dangling from it, and that stops us for good, at least right now. And I love this section. Like I'm kind of, ever since Uncharted 2, I've been a fan of like climbing up the dangling train kind of cars as they go. This feels
I hope they do it in real life one day.
Oh God, I would just call somebody I love and say, hey, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm gone.
Yeah, I love you. Don't remarry.
Wait for me.
Yeah, I'll see you in heaven.
But you're platforming up this this falling train, from car to car as this monster. It's like a huge hydralisk, like from StarCraft, attacks you. And this is our next boss that we end up fighting once we get up onto the firm part of the bridge.
Yeah, and this is very much like a railgun thing. You don't have a lot of ways to dodge,
right?
But it will try to hit you where you can hit its tentacle or hit its mouth that's open while it's trying to bite you to stop it. Very similar to every railgun boss fight.
Yeah,
where it's bringing down its hand if you hit it in the weak point. It's just about aiming.
Yeah,
real good. And eventually you get to the E99 reactor, which allows you to power up, and you use the TMD to dissolve the monster's head, which kills it, like just aging its head. Beware the ravages of old age.
Oh God, just having your head aged, so you're like like a perfectly.
So you're Carl Havoc.
I got too much shit on me. Oh,
this guy sucks. Can you imagine if this guy went up to you?
I look like a completely different person. But just imagine, just a fit person, prime of their life, gets their head aged to the point where they're all gray and wrinkly just from the neck up, and they have dementia.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like selective progeria.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah. These kids with old faces. Silent Hill.
Oh. Silent Hill. Oh man. But yeah, we end up killing them, and we can ride the first few cars. The engine's fine, so we continue to the docks.
It's nighttime now, and we step out on the docks, and a big shockwave takes us back to the 50s, where there are just a bunch of soldiers like vibing, and we get the seeker and get a little seeker time after the boss. Again, the game knows when to deploy seeker time.
Yeah, this is a very fun area, specifically because this is dock, so they've got cargo cranes and things.
Yes,
and the platforms on the cargo cranes, A, they have explosives on them, and B, they're made of wood. So you can age them and then just drop these explosive barrels on top of fools.
My theory was that this was one of the earlier areas of the game that was designed because there's lots of time crimes you can do.
Yeah, as you advance,
which makes me think this is a holdover.
Yeah,
from. Yeah,
but
real good.
You've got the ability to to take this the way you want. Like you can just hang back at the far side, and take people out with the seeker, without really advancing up. You have a long range on those bullets, so it's fine. Or you can get up in the fray a little bit more and kind of take advantage of some of that stuff. I really like that they just kind of give you the ability to choose your approach and honor both of them or any of them.
Yeah, both are fun.
Yeah.
We do a little puzzle in this docks reactor room, which lets us raise the Pearl up. And this is the ship that has the E-99 bomb, so we can navigate it, but we are warned that this effect won't last very, very long for something this big. So as we go through this, the ship ages.
This rules. I love this so much.
It's cool. It's super cool looking. It's really spooky.
Yeah, it's like, it's literally Silent Hill. It's all rusting and flooding? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and practically, it's, at what point does the ship become untenable? It's aging, but what point is the exact tipping point where it's old enough that it cannot be a ship?
Yeah.
Those kind of changes happen usually so slowly that we never notice them. The idea that they might actually see it happen, like the moment it goes from, floatable to capsizable. So,
yeah.
This is where we get that weapon we were talking about, the Death X launcher, which is a grenade launcher that fires tiny little drones, like little steerable rounds, but we don't get the camera from their perspective.
Yeah.
We see them glow through walls.
Yes.
So you move like a little Samus morph ball around basically, and then when you let go of the button, it explodes.
Yeah.
I ended up putting upgrades into this because I thought it was so neat, but it's not very useful.
Yeah. So it's what's weird about it is you can just use it like a regular grenade launcher, and it's really powerful. Like I ended up using this to chunk large enemies later on or groups. The problem is the delay on the actual grenades. I wish it was just explode on impact.
Yes.
But there's enough of a delay where stuff will run past if you don't account for that, which is kind of unsatisfying. If you fire one of the controllable rounds, it doesn't cost anymore. Like it's not double ammo for that or anything. But there's enough friction to just steer it and then release it that it ends up being hard to manage in the middle of a firefight when you would actually want to deploy this thing. So
and what highlights how good the Seeker is because the Seeker slows down time to where you're not being threatened.
Yes, you
can fire the Seeker from cover, but you can also fire it with enemies in front of you, and you'll probably hit them before they hit you.
Yes,
this it all happens in real time. So it's still, I think this is a neat idea for a weapon. I like the idea of firing a exploding morph ball.
Yeah,
it's just not a very strong version of it.
Yeah. Also, I forget if it's here or if it's later on, but there's literally just one puzzle where the door is locked and blocked. Inside there are some enemies, but there are also exploding barrels. And if you pay attention, there's a small hole near the floor. So it's just oh, I just need to roll this ball in there and explode the barrels, and then I'll be able to get through the broken door. And that's literally the only time this is used for puzzles.
Yeah, it's around now.
Yeah.
Around this area that happens. One thing that we didn't talk about that I want to just make sure we mention that I really like is that one of your abilities is called the chrono ping.
Yeah.
I love this thing. It seems so what this does is you do it and it shows footsteps that show you where to go.
Yeah. Where
the critical path is. That kind of design gets a lot of flack because people are oh no, you want to be able to read the environment. You want to be able to explore. I found one for a game of this type and scope, no, I'd like to know what the critical path is.
Yes.
It's not always the easiest to read these maps. This is purely additive. 2, there's a really cool diegetic reason why it happens. And then 3, I was using it to show me where not to go.
Exactly.
So I would use the footprints and be okay, that's the critical path. That means the side path has goodies. Let's do everything except for that critical path.
Yeah.
It just saved me time of going down that critical path and being oh, this feels critical pathy. I better go back.
Yeah. No, precisely. That is what's cool about this. I normally am bothered. I got bothered even as far back as Perfect Dark Zero, which had this, where it was just okay, you seem to be struggling finding your way in these terrible levels that we designed. We're just going to flash arrows on the floor after a while. Dead Space handled it a little bit better, but it was still a little bit annoying. Here, though, it just kind of clicked for me, and I ended up, kind of figuring counterintuitively, this got me to explore more once I realized that I was not going to be, in danger of going down the right path and having to double back. Yeah.
Totally. Like, and with these kind of levels where it is largely linear, there's a lot of evidence of the levels being less linear than it used to be. Did you notice that you unlock a lot of Dark Souls-esque shortcuts?
You really do. Yeah.
In this game, like back to areas you've been to that you'll never revisit. But with the way that the levels actually ended up being, this was very useful, just to see treats. And you need those treats.
You do.
You want that currency because you want to upgrade because it's a video game and that's fun.
Yeah. And, yes, it is best to have a level that is, designed so that you can intuit the way through, through things. That is really, really hard to do, which is why we loud when studios do it. And why it is called a value. Not everybody can do it, and sometimes a product comes out and it's compromised. Rather than force the player to muddle through, I like kind of the I like kind of the knowledge that
the
this
opt-in.
has you can opt in, and this has a place for it. So
Agreed.
so this is kind of the next best thing. Obviously, do the level design if you can, but don't out of pride. Make navigation, a problem and make the player feel dumb for getting lost. Right.
100%. Yeah. Have some self-awareness.
Yeah.
Which Raven seems to have.
Yeah.
I really like. So there's like Zex down here, soldiers, ticks, reverts, a lot of the enemies we've seen, for kind of a mid-game climax as we make our way down to the cargo hold. We get to the bomb and it's surrounded by this flora, this glowing time plants. Really, really creepy. Nasty stuff. Here.
Just these creepy worms with big sucking mouths, like lampreys that are growing up and just kind of just waving in the water around it. It's good.
We grab the bomb, we're gonna swim out, and Catherine is like, oh no, Devichev's men are upon you, and just sacrifices herself to draw the soldiers off. We never get to see that this is needed, and everyone is saying that you don't have to do this, Catherine. And she just kind of insists here. But it does allow us to get out.
Yes.
So it had to have done something.
Yeah. And Borisov pulls us up onto the docks, and we pass out for things to advance tonight.
So we wake up. Borisov is stirring a pot of stew. He's got a stew going, time stew.
Yeah.
And we need to get to something called the E99 cooker to charge up the bomb.
You can't call anything a cooker because I'm just going to think of the fun cooker from 30 Rock.
Sure.
Yeah.
This cooks up time fun.
Like
time
this
cooker.
game. Yeah. So we're going to have to get there. It's going to be heavily guarded, obviously. It's this big, cool spherical building that's kind of off in the distance. But to head that direction, we're going to have to pass through the morgues, which are these service tunnels where they tossed the dead infected. So probably nothing bad growing down there.
Yeah, lots of both. These tunnels are where the jump scare got me. You turn around a corner and there's a corpse in the water when you're swimming.
I suppose, yeah.
And it's such a cliche, but the game had not been scary for like 5 hours.
Did they do this? I forget. Did they do the chord? Did they do the right? Yeah.
Yep. You just go around and just like, what do I? Did I get like rickrolled by this? This isn't what's going on lately. There's one other little scare like that happens when you use a tape recorder in the mission after this. And like that one, I was like, okay, fool me once. Like,
Singularity, that you don't get to do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When we get up through this, and there's lots of like tragic environmental storytelling here about dealing with the dead. When we get above ground, we're introduced to a new enemy here. These gigantic bug creatures. These things are really interesting because you can throw your deadlock grenade onto them, but they can fire out of it. And the bullets move so fast that they move through the deadlock pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Here. So what the deadlock does is eliminate their turning radius. You deadlock them and then go to the side is the strategy for these fellas.
These are the guys that I ended up using the grenade launcher on a lot. I never got close enough to where the turning radius was a real factor. Yeah, so I didn't know that about how they interacted with that, with the deadlock.
Yeah, by this point in the game, I'm well into just deadlocking everything.
Of course.
So.
Yeah. So we can see that there's the cooker, but the bridge is out to it. There is a TMD amplification platform here, but we have to juice it up. So we have to go into this hydroelectric plant to get the power, right? And here's where you get the grenade launcher puzzle. Yeah,
here's where they teach you how to use it. Well after you've had it.
Yeah, the one time, which is fine. But the floor of this place has some Zeks to fight and introduces kind of a new mid-boss type enemy, a larger Zek that will go around and put new parasites in enemies that are dead, kind of reviving them.
He did not get a chance to display that behavior with me. I as an operator, I murdered him too quickly.
Yeah. Can you say that in a Dermot voice?
Yeah. As an operator, I murdered him too quickly.
It's hard, isn't it?
It is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dermot, singular voice. Yeah. There's a little bit of like water level puzzling happening here. Where you have to, you basically drain the water, age a lock so a crate will float when you bring the water back.
Yeah.
But the big thing is here is you've got Demichev's attention, so soldiers start flooding in.
Yeah. And this is one of the first major encounters where we have soldiers rushing into an area that is primarily peopled by monsters. Yeah, and you end up kind of like managing the way that they aggro each other, which will always be satisfying. It was fun in Doom, and it's fun here.
And fun in BioShock.
Yeah.
This is like a fun thing. Like you want to have independent factions that you're up against. So we reassemble the bridge. We had to fight across the bridge with the Seeker. There are all these like towers along the way. You can spend the entire time on one end just Seekering it up.
Oh, you bet I did.
I'm not leaving. And I'm going to refill my Seeker ammo on the way from these towers and have extra Seeker.
Yeah.
The game just randomly takes the Seeker away from you during doors and stuff, during transitions.
You can't fire through the door.
Yep. It's that good. We get to the front gate of the facility, so we have to find another way in. But unfortunately, the way in was locked down because E99 leaked into the tunnels. So they're like, hey, this is going to be really bad. You're going to need to find a gas mask, etc.
Yes. Yeah. This is fun because you can do the abandoned tunnels. They're full of mutants. But again, you can just bring your full Seeker in through this door that closes behind you and then just kill these guys from like 4 hallways away. These mutants are all bunched up in some of the areas here. Good things. There's a minor counterweight puzzle. This is where you have to intuit that an intact thing is heavier than a non-intact thing. To raise yourself
the first time it's required.
Yeah,
you do this a lot prior to this.
Yeah.
And they introduce like an oxygen system. Like previous to this, there's some light swimming where you can run out of air, but it's pretty basic.
Yeah.
Here we wear a gas mask, and we had to pick up oxygen tanks as we go. This door at the end that is faulty is really fiddly.
It is.
Here. Getting it to stay open and then deadlocking it is tricky, and this took me a lot of tries. So this is the only time I asphyxiated.
Yes.
It's funny how many oxygen tanks are just hanging around.
Yep.
Here. It's basically infinite here. They keep, and during the next part, after you get through this, when you go back to 1955, they actually repopulate. When you go back, they respawn.
Yep. Yeah, because you only use the future versions.
So we go back to when the gas leak happened in 1955, as we mentioned. We have to take a crate and take it back from 1955 to 2010 to get into the elevator.
This is the first time you've had to bring anything through a rift like this.
Yeah, I didn't know that we could.
Yeah.
Free crates. We get into this processing complex with this area that is this all-out war, like Demichev soldiers versus monsters. Really fun. We get our kind of shitty rocket launcher.
Yeah.
That we can steer like the Half-Life rocket launcher, but less fun.
Yeah.
And we ride this little gondola across to the cooker while those laser beasts are fighting soldiers in the road. While the soldiers are taking little timeouts to fight us as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting. Like, you can just kind of park yourself at the back of the gondola and crouch down and mostly be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care about this fight
Nope.
that's happening. I was like, oh, these guys are, this is guys I'm going to fight later. It's not.
No. It's you can decide how invested you want to be. And I was shooting at stuff because it was fun to shoot at stuff, but you can't just sit back. Yeah. But this gondola will take you into the cooker itself. But you need to get an access code to recharge the bomb, which requires going back in the 1955 to go to Dr. Petrov's lab. Dr. Petrov is the guy who, refines the U-99 that is mined up.
Yeah. So we go back. We can get to his lab, and when he sees you, he calls you the assassin and locks you down and calls in the guards. So we have to fight through a different route to get back to the rift through a bunch of just normal soldiers. Mm-hmm. And this is where we're learning the origin of those plants.
Yeah.
They've created versions of these living plants that had previously only been ethereal due to the properties on this island where this mineral grows.
It's just natural fauna that grows, but in a from beyond like fashion, we are unable to perceive them or interact with them. And the U-99, they can perform experiments to kind of like lock them into this phase. And they've got like a full one growing out of a pot, and its horrible little mouth parts are just constantly, writhing at you. It's really upsetting.
I put a clip in it. I was like, "Oh, nothing's going to kill that thing."
No, because you finish the game, and then there's going to be a post credits. Oh, and this stuff took over because you forgot to kill that one.
Yeah. Or I killed it, and it was going to save somebody else's life.
Oh yeah,
time grinds.
Oh man. But yeah, you're passing through places where troops have set up an ambush. This is a little bit like this is beginning of the game stuff. Like, you're dealing with real kind of basic folks. Like, the most interesting this gets is like some of them have shields, so you just have to shoot out their legs underneath them. Pretty basic, just to fight dudes at this point. You reach Petrov's lab and he runs away. You can get the code device and pop it into the reactor to recharge the bomb.
Yes. It's worth noting that we've been for a while been finding those ominous notes.
Yes.
And I think it's around here where we get the one that's like, the plan is bad, but it can be changed.
Yeah.
Here. And like, this is not the first time or something.
You also see maybe this is supposed to happen or something like that.
Yeah, that's one of them too. Like, the idea that you've been doing this in a loop,
yes,
gets introduced somewhere around here, which is not the most clever mind bending use of a time loop, but it's still pleasant. Like, oh, I've done this before.
Yeah,
I said no, and that's why the chrono ping thing works. It's showing your footsteps. Mm-hmm. The ones you've taken in the past futures.
Yeah.
Or future past or whatever.
Well, language hasn't evolved to meet this challenge.
Yeah. Fortunately. When we get this, we charge the bomb, and this causes the reactor to overload. We get a countdown timer. We get 60 seconds. Running away, enemies are still going to show up, but you can just deadlock them and run past. To get through this rift, to get back, and when we get back, the facility is destroyed.
Yes. Because it exploded, 55 years ago or whatever. Yeah, and you can like look up, and around where all of this stuff had been refined in the past, you've got those phase parasites just like flying in a big spiral, kind of around where it used to be. Just the implied ecology of that is really fun.
It's cool because they don't do a whole lot with it. Like, it's not fully explored. It's just a cool little side idea.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But you have the bomb, and you can reunite with Borisov. Who calls a lift to the Singularity Tower, kind of explaining that, Demichev, he's got this hard-on for the time manipulation device because he believes it can repair his baby, the Singularity, in order to kind of like fix the problems that were happening here and solidify his rule. But Borisov believes that he's wrong about that what he wants is impossible, and he's just a madman who is fixated on it.
Yeah, being a big jerk.
Yeah.
So we have to go to the Singularity Labs because this is the center of the time distortions. This has like natural time crimes that get committed. Elements shift back and forth between 1955 and 2010 without us doing anything.
It's young Borisov, and then Shockwave old Borisov. It's just complete chaos. My bones.
Crunch. I don't even remember what it felt like to be young. Like if that
No,
happened
no.
to me, like what would that be like? Because
I,
a lot of things I noticed as I was older, the feeling of I can only assume I didn't notice when I was younger,
yeah.
which meant I didn't feel them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what would it be like not to wake up every day congested?
I really think that I think that the immediate contrast, like if I was given 10 minutes to be in my 20-year-old body again, going
Hmm.
back to, my 33-year-old body, I'm not necessarily like, like completely like written down or anything like that, but I think that the immediate contrast would be too much to handle. I think that
I'd
it would
probably
cause
fall.
deep depression. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that if I got sent back that way, it would be like Connor Mallory in The Honk If You're Horny sketch. Like immediately just the flood of like hormones that I
Oh
hadn't
yeah,
been
yeah.
dealing with, to that degree.
Yep.
Just like
Just
freaking out, hiding behind tombstones. Like,
laying on the horn.
yeah, like just I would absolutely freak out. So,
Oh
yeah.
man.
So soldiers are coming back from 1955 that are time displaced, but know they need to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just you look the same no matter what, and just everybody and every time is coming after you, including like the mutants. Like there's a teleporting Zek fight here that you're much better equipped for now than you were before.
And it's happening where there are force ghosts, where it's fighting them in the past and you in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really cool. Like you get to see the force ghosts like get slashed apart and shit,
Mm-hmm.
and it teleports to your time. Like this guy's a boss.
Yeah.
You know. We get to this vault door. Barisov says you have to stay here, and we had to find his in their thing. We had to find his old lab to get a modification for the TMD that'll allow us to open a rift, so we
Yeah.
can correct this timeline. We get to the lab and we see a time echo of Demichev congratulating him on the completion of the TMD.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting more audio logs from Barisev talking about, him falling out with
Yeah.
Demichev. Would it surprise you to find out there are people who ship these two characters?
No.
Just amazing stuff. An amazing world we live in.
Yeah.
But they used to respect each other and now they don't.
Yes. So you get this final TMD modification, which this is your super gravity gun moment that is nowhere near as satisfying as that. Really, what it does mechanically, aside from allowing you to open that final rift and end the game, but it removes all energy requirements for your actions, so you can just run around impulse blasting all the time. It improves the range and damage of it, but it is still like it's just enough to deal with the phase ticks that they throw at you. Like you're not really doing too much to actual like humanoids with guns who are gonna attack you.
If you're close, you do.
Oh,
Like if you get up next to guys, this will take the heads off of the Spetsnaz guys.
oh, huh.
Gotta deadlock them. Deadlock, walk up, just take the heads off everybody.
Yeah, I think I
And
wasn't.
then you restart time and all their heads fall off. It's great.
I wasn't deadlocking enough people. I was just kind of running around using this to complement my my shooting. Right, so I would like hit one of them at the very end, at the very far end of the impulse range, and then shoot them while they were stunned. Yeah.
I never stop deadlocking. I'm doing it right now. We get through this. This is a bunch of mix-ups. A lot of elite Spetsnaz. It is harder, even with the deadlock.
Yeah.
Thing, because you can only keep one deadlock sphere going at a time. And when enemies move into it, like bullets are still coming into it.
Yes.
Enemies and bullets, they just move slower, so it's still tricky. But the deadlock and then impulse off people's heads still works.
Yes.
When you get to the core, where Barisov is, I want to go back to 1955 and destroy the Singularity Tower, thinking this will set history right. However, the plan is bad; it can be changed, etc. When we do this, the lab workers flee because you just appear out of a time portal.
Yeah, with a bomb.
You appear in the chamber like, oh shit, somebody's in there. What the hell?
Yeah.
Run away, and you put the bomb in the zone here. It's a very polite grenade. Like when you grab it, it like creates a little shell for itself and then deploys itself.
Yep. Just conscientious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go back through the rift thinking, hey, everything's going to be fixed, but no, you're basically in the same singularity. Like there are like different stripes painted in different places, but it's just the singularity. And Demichev is here, and he has Barisov at gunpoint. Demichev chuckles, saying like, "Oh, you worked so hard to destroy my tower, but guess what? All I had to do was rebuild it. We knew how to build it, man."
Yeah. Take the knowledge away.
Yeah.
And we're stuck in these 2 points. We can't just go back and kill him and when he's a baby.
Yeah.
What thing you want to do. So Berisev says like, "Oh, what we have to do is go back to the beginning of the game and stop you from saving Demichev's life in a fire." We've shot Demichev at this point, but he's not dead. He's kind of bargaining with us. We shoot him twice.
So one of these, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, you're offering him a pretty shitty deal. Like, go kill yourself." Whereas like, if he joins me, kill Borisov and you can rule the world.
Yeah. Well, so the reason why it comes down to just like, go kill yourself, is that he laughs like, "Oh, you've tried that before." Then, "Hey, remember back at the beginning of the episode when we said, oh, the building's on fire and you saved this guy and somebody's telling you not to? That was you."
Yeah. That's you.
Yeah.
Yeah. A really cool little touch. Again, very genre-y, but like, batting above its weight class for like a B game.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. So this gives us our choice, technically. We can kill one or both of them, if we want to. I do the good thing and kill Demichev, here, because it seems like the right thing to do. And then go back in time and kill myself, carrying Demichev's body. So Demichev burns up on the floor.
Yeah.
And we get one of the 3 endings of the game.
Yeah.
It's really neat. We changed history. There's a paradox that happened because of this.
Yeah.
We're in the opening cutscene of the game, but we see our opening credits, like the game just restarts, except it's in Russian.
Yeah, it's in Cyrillic. And Devlin is, talking about like, oh, how pointless these runs are. Remember, Devlin at the beginning of the game was like, we're risking an international incident by coming out here, and here he's just kind of over it. Dispatch radios in and says, "Hey, turn back. It was a false alarm. The mission is canceled." And Devlin's like, "Oh, isn't that the way? Well, let's go home, comrade." Like, wait a minute, what?
What, comrade?
Yeah,
we don't call each other that in America.
No. And kind of like the final shot here is the statue in the bay is Borisov. Like, because of our involvement, Borisov was still working on this stuff. He still would have been tempted to use the technology that he made to take things over. With the TMD, Russia won the Cold War and everything is under its sway. Yeah.
It's crazy powerful, even if you're not experimenting on humans.
Right.
Is the idea. And then we get a little post credits of Catherine swimming up to the surface, to write the little journal that Mir 12 used that mentions Renko.
Yeah.
In case you were worried about what happened to Catherine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I largely forgot about Catherine. So, but cool little twist, like the Borisov, regardless of him being the better of these 2 Soviet scientists, wanted the Soviet Union to win.
Yeah. Of course he did. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's played as a real dun, like, oh man, can you imagine if we were all speaking Russian right now? It's like, I don't know. No, doesn't seem so bad. Devlin seems happy.
He seems at least as dipshittered as he was before. So
there are different endings though.
Yeah.
If we do things. So if we go back in time, instead of shooting ourselves, we shoot Demichev. We go back in time and or we come back and Borisov is still alive and says like, you have to go back and kill yourself in the past.
Yeah.
But if we kill Borisov instead, bad things happen here.
Yeah.
Like all the endings are pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So in this one, you've, in the present day, you've killed Demichev and you've killed Borisov, and Russia crumbles. Without their premier, Mir 12 is able to come in and lead a resistance, taking power in the east. Katorga 12 explodes, destroying the eastern coast of Russia and flooding China with monsters.
It's like a 3,000 mile crater.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. It talks about it reaching the prison colony of Alaska.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
And our guy disappears to the west of the TMD and starts rebuilding the U.S. in his ruthless image.
Yeah.
There's a new godlike leader who rules the United States with godlike powers.
Yeah.
If we just shoot Borisov for Demichev, Demichev's the only survivor along with you. and the two of you team up for a while, leading the military until Demechev gets paranoid and fears your power. So he goes off to the United States and develops his own TMD.
Yeah.
So there's an arms race with you on the side of the Russians.
Yes. So we're back into the Cold War because, there's always going to be two powers opposing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the end of Singularity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fun.
It's really fun. I said this on Twitter and, I still stand by this. Like, this is a B game, right? I would give this, I would rank this a B. Wouldn't want to call it a B plus because, it just feels like a B, but like, it's a real shiny B to me. It's made of gold, or at least gold plated. And I think that, it's a little bit, kind of the triumph of a modest product,
Yes.
kind of like, we've talked about a lot of things and, some of the things we've been more negative on are games that, that had pretty high concepts, but didn't necessarily like execute on them or like, have play that like met it and backed it up. That's just been a little bit of a thing that's happened recently. Like Paradise Killer would be a big one of that, a big example there. And, I think that it, kind of goes back to that Ebert thing, which is like, when I'm rating this, I am taking into account what it is trying to do and how well did it achieve it. And this is, regardless of the intentions at the beginning of development, the result is a modest product that is, iterative. Yes. But is still designed to be fun, and, ambition is fine, but it's not everything. And sometimes something that is only moderately ambitious, but executes on it very well, like that is, that is good. That is worth spending your time on. Especially to see, Raven, maybe not necessarily at their height, but like, this was the last thing that they did before they got shunted into the Call of Duty hole. So like, this is still, the result of a whole bunch of experimentation that they did. And you're seeing, kind of like the one of the apexes of their work here. So if you liked anything like previously that Raven had done, regardless of what era you jumped in, it is worth trying this because, it doesn't point for the fences and say, hey, I'm going to knock this out of the park. It does like a really solid line drive and gets on second, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a double. Yeah, and it's really interesting in terms of like game history and game industry stuff, where you can have like a lot of care obviously went into this. I think that it's pretty obvious that people who make video games, nobody wants to make a bad product. I understand that, but there are also, I think, a sliding scale of like the degree of like kind of soul or care that goes into something, and a lot of care went into this. It's just it's like it's a B game in a world that doesn't really allow that.
Yeah,
from a AAA developer, and them making a B, kind of being forced to make a B game, ruined them.
Yeah,
made it like they end up being folded in, like just did not sell well enough.
Yeah,
if you took these ideas and the wireframe and the gameplay, and were not trying to, the multiplayer mode seemed cool, but I'm sure it added a lot of time and development onto something.
Yeah.
If you just made this as like a prestige single player game, the kind that they don't make anymore, and lowered the budget, I feel like this could have found a place.
Yeah.
And almost could now.
Yeah.
Like it's ahead of its time in a bunch of different ways without being revolutionary.
Yeah. It just,
I love evolutionary games. Like I love games that are like, this isn't, I am not a novelty seeker, and I'm not somebody who, I want good versions of things that I like.
Yeah. See us, the praise that we heaped on the base game of BioShock 2, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a great version of something that I like.
Yeah.
Just, why wouldn't I want things that I like? Good versions of it.
It's just, it is a really satisfying thing to play. And I think that it speaks to, the fact that we can open ourselves up to a whole bunch of a bunch of good stuff if there is room open in the middle of the market. Right.
Huge thanks to Ryan too.
Yeah.
Because this is the kind of thing that I probably would not have occurred to me to play, in modern times, but I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah.
And so I'm very happy to have this on my gamer CV.
Yeah, happy to have taken a throw at it, and it's been fun. I hope that more people get a chance to play it, and get exposed to some of the cool stuff that's here.
Yeah, it turns out it's actually like a really good month.
Yeah,
for WAF, like especially in terms of ramp up. Like we got like ultra breezy, and then non breezy.
Yeah,
like as a little ramp.
Yeah.
Here. So if you have anything to say about anything we've done this month, which is Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Singularity, or Darkest Dungeon, September 15th is the deadline at duckfeed.tv/contact.
Yeah. Use the button there. If you have thoughts about multiple games, please break them up into multiple responses. That just makes things easier for us as we put together the dispatch episodes. If you have things to say about October's games, which are Echo, Silent Hill, the original one, or Resident Evil 8/Village, the deadline there is October the 15th, again at duckfeed.tv/contact.
Yeah. We are booking executive produced episodes into January. So we've gotten a couple of those on the books. If you're looking to, and that's not too far away, actually.
Yeah.
So if you are looking to produce a game, you can do so at patreon.com/duckfeedtv, or get episodes early, access to the Slack, bonus shows. That's all great.
Yeah.
If you cannot do that, we understand. We thank you for listening anyway, and you can leave us ratings or reviews on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, or anywhere you see podcast reviews happening, or tell your friends.
Yeah. Gonna remind people I do stream. I'm currently streaming Chrono Cross during the day on some weekdays here, and then always the horror streams on weekends at night. That is at twitch.tv/duckfeedtv. So if you want some more time travel, alternate universe stuff, Chrono Cross will be a thing you might be interested in. It's fun. Hang out.
Yeah. And I think that's about it.
Think so.
What should they watch out for until next time, Cole?
Watch out for, you know what? Don't save that guy. If you're walking by, see somebody, don't save him.
Yeah, they might be a Hitler.
You don't know.
Only kill known Hitlers. Do not save unknown Hitlers. So we have known Hitlers and unknown known Hitlers.
It's real weird that they put those. It's real weird that they put those signs up at campgrounds. Take only photographs, leave only footprints, kill only known Hitlers.
Umbasa.
Umbasa.